but you know.
I'm reviving it in 2020.
Yeah, we're keeping it alive. We're keeping it alive,
whether we want to or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's like ingrained in us at this point. You know?
Well, if we won't, guess who will? Think of all the people who would keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's important not to take yourself too seriously. I'm awesome, you know, and you have to tell me how awesome I am. You know, fuck that. All
right, thank you for asking.
And we are live. 30 seconds into it. Welcome to episode 196.
Wow.
Getting close.
In New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got, on the top and to the right, for the first time in for the first time in a while on a larger panel, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
What'd you put in your coffee, man? I'm glad to be here.
It's not coffee anymore, buddy. All right, so coffee this ain't.
Son of a bitch. Give me a drink.
Just below him, we've got what's the score on MNF? And
go Browns.
Jacket.
Get me points.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Jacket of Auto. NJ.
Yeah.
And rounding out the panel tonight, we've got the off-white housecoat's cousin. He's been white for a while. And some places whiter than others than he once was. I can attest to that. I knew him back in the day. We've got John K. Alvarez. And so this is, for most intents and purposes, I still regret this. Eric, you were not part of the Hereditary.
It's okay.
What's done is done. I mentioned that because I brought everybody back that I wanted for this, because I made the claim, as I made the claim during Ginger Snaps back, that it was equal to Dog Soldiers, or could take the Pepsi challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That this was Hereditary level horror.
Mm-hmm.
This is a movie that I heard about on a list for top 10 elevated horror films. And I hate that fucking term. I think it's a bullshit term that doesn't really exist to justify making other movies that don't have a fucking story. But those aren't worth talking about because that's not, what this shit is. But it's a debut film. For a director by the name of Oz Perkins, who wanted to make a film about loss. And so I thought that, like a lot of the best horror films, they're the ones that are rooted in some kind of human relatable issue. Like my coughing. I can make a fucking movie about that. And so that's what he did here. I knew nothing about it, walked into it, and when it was over with, 90 minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? Because it's so fucking low-key.
Mm-hmm.
There's no big budget. There's no splatter, really. There isn't really any violence in it even until like the last 15 minutes of the movie. But the tone and the mood of it were just so fucking consistent and cold. That's the only word that I can think of. It was just fucking ice cold. The mood and the events of the film were, just fucking ridiculous. And I'm talking about 2015's The Blackcoat's Daughter. So if you guys are ready to go, shall we get it going?
Yep.
Let's go.
Boogie woogie. So this was filmed in like the dead of fucking winter, and there's a quick documentary if you watch it on Blu-ray, which I have, which says in some at most of the filming it was like minus 34 Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's just fucking dreadfully fucking bleak. I'm gonna do a quick go around as what I usually do with you guys. Let me know your initial thoughts without getting into too many details about the Blackcoat's daughter. Eric, what do you got? And then we'll go to Bill and then John. And if you didn't like it, that's fine too. I always respect everyone's right to be wrong.
Well, when you say Hereditary, that already had high expectations. So kind of like what you did with Dog Soldiers and Ginger Snaps, I don't think it met that high of an expectation because Hereditary is really up there for me. I did enjoy it, but kind of like, you said it earlier, either you said it or John, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know what the fuck I watched. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was getting into. All I did was I knew the cast, and that's it. I enjoyed it. I have problems with non-linear movies, so I'm sure this conversation will help that. But yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about. I still have a lot to process because I literally just finished it like maybe half hour ago.
Okay. All right. Mr. Monday Night.
Yeah, like Eric said, comparing this movie to Hereditary sets the bar awfully high, and ultimately this movie did not meet that bar. But I did enjoy it. They kept my interest through the whole thing. I didn't turn it off. I didn't start looking at my phone. I was interested in watching it. The problem I had with it was ultimately, for all its good points, the story at the center is garbage, and it never resolves, and it never really goes anywhere. But everything around that story worked for me. So what can I tell you?
Okay. Mr. Off-White.
Thank you, sir. Mike, I think when you first started this podcast, you and I talked about this movie.
Possibly.
Like we were talking about doing it because I had just seen it. And I was very lucky for an actor friend who I've worked with for many, many years, told me about it. And I told him I wasn't really into that type of horror movies. He said, shut up and watch it, and I'll bet you $1 you'll be crying at the end. And he was right. To call this a horror movie sells it short to me. There is so much more in this. And amazingly, one of the things, and I may be going against, Mr. Monday Night, which is officially now your nickname for me. The story, I think, in the center was strong because it was so different from any other horror movie I had seen at the time. This was also my first experience with A24.
Okay.
I saw this before I saw Hereditary.
Okay.
Actually, I was holding Hereditary to the bar of this movie type deal, only because how interesting it was. And you mentioned how cold it was. One of the things this movie reminded me of with the cold was, if you ever saw the movie Fargo,
Yeah,
eventually the weight, the coldness, and it became like, and not only an element of the movie, but like its own character. The setting itself actually helped to it. And I think the setting in this movie, the atmosphere, really told the story, and not in a cheap way, which could have easily gone that way. So I hold a high standard for this. Basically, because besides a horror movie, I actually think it's a sad love story.
Yeah, I disagree with anyone that might have said it doesn't hold the standard to Ari Aster's, because I think it's a different kind of story. And the tragedy, especially with how it ends, and I think John kind of keyed into it because I sort of put it in my notes that it's different from other movies in that there's actually an aspect of unrequited love there. This girl figures out at the end that evil doesn't love her. This thing that she constantly wants to reconnect to, that has kind of been forced away from her through the very brief exorcism scene, which I love the Father Brian character.
Mm-hmm.
in there. Yeah, it's that ending, and she's just alone.
Mm-hmm.
She's done these awful things, and then she escapes and comes out and is. And this is, if it had just been, her escaping and doing something crazy, that would have been one thing. But that there was just enough influence to put her in the path of James Remar and Lauren Holly, who were the parents of the person that she killed in the first storyline. I was just like, and then it really doesn't matter. Even after she does all of that, the furnace remains cold.
Mm-hmm.
There's no connection there whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how, and not to mention the fact that I've constantly said this, my position on kid actors has evolved. And I thought that the girl who played Catherine, the young girl who, is possessed, was just fucking great.
Yeah, Kieran Shipka is great. I've loved her ever since Mad Men.
She's real good.
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
She would have done better. She would have done better in the guy who did Hereditary, the one where they went to
Midsummer.
Midsummer. She would have been better in Midsummer.
If she was the one smiling at the end.
Oh yeah.
I disagree with that too, because I would have accepted no one in that particular fucking role. That still pisses me off every time I fucking see it.
That's smiling,
right?
Yeah. What is it we were doing? Those girls were like, I watch that movie all the time. I love that. Okay, thanks, fucking Glenn Close. Okay,
it's a chick flick, horror flick. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I love that movie. But it starts off with this fucking matter of fact fucking photograph going on with this this girl who looks like she is just like the belle of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just she waltzes in slow motion ahead of everybody else. She just cuts to the front of the fucking line and just sits her ass down and just gives this bright fucking smile. And as the story goes on, you see that from her own little perspective, there are a lot of there's some adolescence going on here. Her little mini world is falling apart because she thinks she's pregnant.
Right.
By some local rock and roller. It happens at an all-girls Catholic school. And one of the things I also loved was that the second time you see the photograph, you actually see the afterlook that comes onto her face after it's taken, when you have the full context of her entire situation. And it's not at all what you thought the first time.
No, reality's setting in.
Yeah.
That is something I appreciated about this movie, is that the director is setting up a lot of good misdirections where you're starting right from the very beginning trying to suspect who's the bad guy in this, and it starts out with that girl, and slowly you start to realize she's not really the bad guy, she's a victim. You think Kieran Shipka is the good kid. There's misdirect there. There's misdirect with putting Emma Roberts in place of Kieran Shipka. It's all well intended. The bad part is that I kind of figured it out 20 minutes in and was waiting for it to play out. And I was
another misdirect I got. I was getting really creepy, pedo vibes from James Remar initially.
Right.
You know what I mean? When he picks up Emma Roberts, and then when he just happens to walk into her hotel room and she's in just a fucking towel. Oh, my wife's sleeping. You want to come down and get some dinner, type of thing. You know what I mean? He definitely seemed like he had bad intentions.
I was thinking the priest had done something sexually to one of these girls, and I was waiting for that to come out, and it really didn't. It was leading you on to think that way, and that can be good. But I was kind of disappointed that wasn't where he was going with it.
It's one of those. I just want to say it's one of those things where, and I read this about it after I watched it because I read this review, and it's one of those things where if you get around to a rewatch, and I don't like to, this is like many of my favorite films or the ones that I consider top tier. I don't like to watch them very much because I don't want them to get old. But there are so many lines that are just taken for granted that when you see it again, you're just like, oh shit! Like everything is there for a reason. Everything is there for a reason.
Right.
I loved initially her meeting with Father Bryant, and you could tell that this thing. Well, you can't tell it at the time, but this thing had already been engaging with her.
Right.
And he's just telling her, well, I got to take a trip to Albany, and I'm not going to be there. Oh, well, how long does it take for you to get back? All these sorts. Oh, I'm sorry, you're going to miss my performance. And she has this look on her face because I never saw Mad Men. I haven't watched Mad Men, so I don't know her from anything else. She just has this look that she's in on a joke that you're not. It's not any of the overt sort of possession tropes that you see with the contortion, Emily Rose or this sort of thing.
Right.
She's just quietly sitting there watching it.
Right.
Like she has all the like she knows all the math in the universe. It's one of those types of expressions, and I've only watched it twice. So that's how confident I am in the quality of the film. But when she's talking to him, and she just is like looking over to the right, and the priest picks up on it right away. Something's off with this girl. Is something funny?
Right.
She's like, funny. What do you mean? You just look like She's like, oh no, nothing like that. It's just it's a fantastic performance. By everybody, all the way through.
And going to the story, you didn't need a lot of the exposition that you usually find in a movie like this, like building up of the school or building up. It just let it happen in front of you, and I think that really added to that. I'm agreeing with you completely, Mike. I think that's what added to it because there were so many different things that, like Mr. Monday Night was saying. That everybody is going to,
He just wants to get to the game, man. He wants to watch the Bengals. I didn't like it. I gotta.
All of a sudden, when the story just took you down some of those paths, and then said, "Oh, by the way, we're looking to the left, like she is."
Yeah.
The story you're not seeing.
Yeah, and that's where the story is.
Yeah,
the story is in the place that you're not being shown.
Exactly.
It's off camera. Everything that's important until you get to the very end is occurring off camera. She wants him to see what he's going to do. Or that thing wants him to see what what it is she's going to do. Right. And I also like the fact that basically, the Catherine storyline took place in 36 hours. Maybe 48 hours.
Yeah.
The Jones storyline takes place in one night.
Right.
The whole thing just takes place in one night. The one girl is pregnant. Here's a question for all of you. Kat gets that phone call from the thing, whatever it is, saying that her parents are dead. Kill all the cunts.
Yep.
Did the thing kill her parents? Because her parents are dead.
No,
her parents are dead. It hasn't happened with enough time, and I think that's why at the end the headmaster comes back with the police because they found out that her parents are dead, and now they have a legal issue. What are we supposed to do with this child now that's in our custody? Do we send her to family? Do we? It's a matter for the police now. So that's why they come back. She is dead. Did this thing kill the parents?
I think it definitely had. Now that you mention it, it had some type of hand in it, because if it didn't kill the parents, then why would the police and the priest come back to the school to tell her your parents are dead, and then they walk in on the aftermath of the nuns being murdered.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that, it had this. I think this demon or whatever it is had this plan set out, and that was just, okay, I got this going, I got this going, I got this going. Okay, time to kill the parents to set this ball in motion.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was opportunistic. As much as I know it was a demon, and I believe it was a demon, I don't think it was a strong demon. I mean, the exorcism, not to jump ahead, but even that, it was quick.
Yeah, it was done within a minute, maybe two.
And that's the point, as opposed to fighting. I think this was like a minor demon, and when the parents were actually killed, turned around and said, "Oh, well, then let's hurry this along. Let me use this to my advantage." I think that could be an idea to look towards it, because that's what makes it. That's kind of, to me, what makes it sad in a way, because the demon was more, I don't want to say normal, as opposed to, let's say, Lucifer or Satan. Or
then when did the demon take a hold of Kat? Because she's there crying that her parents didn't show up, and she had that dream or that premonition that they were dead, but she doesn't say anything. She was already under his influence.
I thought that was the devil right there who showed her in the dream.
Yeah.
My impression was that it was the devil right there. I mean, and I think John is right. He's connected all the dots here. Even this thing maybe down the road 9 years. That's going to happen because, hey, a minor master of the universe here. That's what you're dealing with. And we talked about that before when we talked about Dorff. Playing the long game. And then I got to tell you, one of the creepiest damn scenes that I thought of or that I saw in the movie was when Rose finds her worshiping the fucking furnace. It's just so fucking. I mean, there's no. It's the way that John always talks about being able to do nothing and make it look interesting.
Yeah.
That's the entirety of this movie. There's no budget. There's no spinning heads. There's no screaming. It's just a girl bowing to a fucking furnace. But in that moment, I remember that specifically the first time I saw it. That gave me a bigger shock. Than I'd say 90% of the possession films that I've seen to date.
Right. And if they'd have stayed with that psychological stuff, that would have been great. When he starts with the lining up the heads in front of the furnace, and all the throat slashing, that destroyed it for me. Number one, because demons don't really do that. They don't really influence like that. And it's sort of like, oh, let's go for heads chopped off instead of going for the possession thing full bore. And be about the people. Instead, it's just the shock value and all.
But it's also human sacrifice,
right? But hold on, that was the same. That was the same thing they did in Hereditary. I mean, how many heads were in Hereditary? Tony Collette's sisters.
How many were in The Witch?
It was set up really well.
I disagree. And I think because there was so little gore until the very end.
If that's where the movie loses it for me. Is in the last half hour, last 20 minutes. That's where it fell apart.
No, not for me. That's where the strength of it actually came together. Because I'm not one of those people that knew it was Kaiser Soze.
Right.
Okay. I actually watched it with somebody who's that's Kaiser Soze, and I just said, "Shut the fuck up." Shut the fuck up. So that's I don't go out of my way trying to necessarily solve things. And so not attempting that allowed me to enjoy it more. And so again, because there had been so little gore, when we get to whether it's Cat at 12 or Cat at 21, doing these things of her own will or because she has been ordered to by this thing, it's never made clear. What's made clear is that there's just to be the killings,
right?
Which she does with a knife,
right?
Again,
and going back.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, going back to this scene that you have on the screen right now, too.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's light and shadow and everything else, and then right at the center of it, it's fire. You know, that red heat, so to speak, coming off on it, especially dealing with the fact that the movie, the atmosphere is set up for being so cold.
Yeah.
And then boom, it's a very simple teleportation of like, now you're in hell.
I think maybe that's the best way I could describe it. It's just the simplicity of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It just goes for something that's really simple and does it extremely well. Again, I didn't figure it out. So, we haven't even gotten necessarily to James Remar. And this girl, which I remember watching it and thinking they look kind of alike, but I didn't. It didn't really occur to me that this was, or that we were even functioning in a different timeline.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two together at all.
Yeah,
who Emma Roberts really was.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, especially when you do the rewatch, and she sees the picture, and then she goes into the bathroom and she just starts laughing. Right. Because she understands. Because again, she's looking for that connection. And she believes falsely that she's going to be able to reconnect again, which is something again that we don't see in possession films. The person liberated, la 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 la. And we all live happily ever after again. There may be some tragedy here and there, but that largely is it. The idea that this person is actually still searching for this day for that connection. Now whether it's because the loss of her parents, and then this invasive thing has sort of filled in that void or whatever. I don't know, but I just thought I was like, holy shit, she really still wants to feel whatever that is again. What is it, Bill?
Nothing.
She enjoyed the possession, is what I.
Yeah.
Because if you
revulsed by it, she enjoyed it.
If you remember when the demon was exorcised or whatever, she says, "Come back" or something like that. To that matter,
don't go.
Yeah, don't go.
Don't go. Okay.
Don't go. Yeah, and I just love the fact that the demon was this low key kind of shadowy thing that you couldn't see. You didn't need to spend a lot of money.
No,
right.
You didn't need to spend a lot of money. You didn't need to do this thing with voice modulation. They did a little minimalist thing that I probably could have done here on Pro Tools. Bill teaches media. He probably could have done something low key like that, but it fucking worked.
No, like I said, that all worked. The setting all worked. It was fine. It just it didn't pay off for me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to figure it out. It's just that Emma Roberts is there, and they're like, would you like help? She's at the bus station. The guy's like, would you like help? And I was like,
so wait, let me ask you something. How did you figure out that they were 9 years in the future?
I didn't. It just came to me. I just was sitting there going, oh, that's her. It seemed like a stereotype. It wasn't like I was trying to figure it out or piece things together. It just seemed logical. It just seemed obvious.
I'll say this: I didn't figure out who Emma Roberts ended up being, but I knew she wasn't genuine because if you know Emma Roberts, she never plays a good person. You know what I mean? I only really know her from she did a TV show called Scream Queens with Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's in like tons of the seasons of American Horror Story. She's always the bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always something up. I think she just gravitates towards those roles.
She was funny though, and We're the Millers.
So I knew something was up with her, but I didn't really. I couldn't put the pieces together with who she ended up being.
I had an argument when it came to the 9 years in the future with someone because they were saying, "Oh, it wasn't the one from the beginning, in high school, Cat. It wasn't Cat. It was a copycat, and somebody read about it and everything else and was trying to go and recreate it themselves." And I said, "No, that can't be it. I'm not buying that one." But there's been debates on actually who that character is. When I did a little research on it, there's a couple people who argued, well, is it, Kat from, and she now calls herself Joan.
Right.
Or is it somebody who actually read about her and Kat's still in the asylum and is trying to do it, themselves?
I think the way it was explained was
slow burn films, man, is that people start spinning these theories. It's like
Theories.
multiple fan theories about Star Wars. When you watch a slow burn film, people just start coming up with stuff that's not there to fill in the fact that there's very little story and very little action.
They're very hot and heavy on their opinion or how they perceive the movie as well. And that's not for a lack of storytelling. That's for the fact that that's how they see it,
right?
As the viewer type deal.
I mean, I read a couple of reviews where people just went off about how this is a scathing rebuke of Catholicism, and I'm like,
I know, I've heard that too. I got to see an interview with Oz Perkins where he turned around and said, "I just wanted to tell a subtle story."
Yeah. And spend a couple weeks on a set with 3 girls dressed in Catholic schoolgirl outfits.
I'm sorry, to me that's summer vacation. I mean, come on,
even if it's 40 below.
But the point is, it's like he said. He goes, sometimes it can hit you over the head too much.
Look, man,
and it's funny because I didn't know he was Anthony Perkins' father until I saw that interview. Or son. He's the son of Anthony.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think the king of all theories that I heard once was that Harvey Dent wasn't dead after the Dark Knight, and he'd be back in the third one. So it doesn't.
I heard that too.
I had this guy. This guy I fucking worked with at a bookstore, and he swore we used to fucking go at it back and forth in the inventory room. He's fucking dead. No, he's not dead. You dumbass.
If Heath Ledger didn't really die, he'd be back in the third one. Let's be honest.
Like you're full of shit. And then like years later. I ran into him online because he had moved, and I ran into him like, "Hey, man, how's Harvey Dent doing?"
Still dead? Okay.
Yeah. Just troll him now every time I run into him online.
No, Harvey Dent was Bane. That's why he wore the mask.
Yeah, exactly. So but I mean, when you look at it now, and you see James Remar's lines. Where he's talking, he's asking her, "Do you believe in God?" And she's like, "No, no, I don't." Who are you going to meet? Are you going to meet, oh, she's like, someone. He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, how did he phrase it? I put it in the notes. Well, that's better than having no one, isn't it? Which is exactly where she ends up at the end.
Right.
She just ends up with she would have been better off in the fucking hospital.
Yeah.
I agree. And then, just the way that like Lauren, Holly, and James Remar it's kind of ruined their lives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can see like they're together, huh?
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, but I mean, you would think after 10 years they wouldn't be biting at each other. Or she wouldn't be biting at him, but she is. Like, she's yelling at him. She's like, "Just stay on the road," I mean, like, get the fuck out of the car then, if you're just going to fucking be like that. Jesus Christ.
So what you're saying is, Mike, before the death, she was biting at him.
Probably, yeah. This just made it fucking worse.
Well, maybe
run the car at 70 and shove her out and just put her out of her fucking misery.
Well, maybe think of it this way, like leaving it up to interpretation. Maybe she's trying to get past, that hump, losing the daughter for 9 years, and he keeps finding all these girls that look and remind her, and she's just like, she's like, "I'm fucking enough of this shit," because she does say something. Did you tell her everything like you told like the others or something like that? So he's always finding doppelgangers, of his daughter, here and there, and she's probably just fucking sick of it because she can't get. How can you get past it if you keep seeing your daughter or your loved one everywhere? You know what I mean?
Again, in irony, that's
it's like me with Halloween Kills.
Well, it's like a switch actually with that too, because usually it's the mother who is looking for, and the husband saying, "Can we let it go, dear?" Very stoically type deal. This was like an actual switch. Again, another misdirection.
I had a hard time recognizing Lauren Holly because she's always in the fucking dark. I didn't really know it was her until like the credits hit.
Yeah.
Well, ever since she left NCIS, she's been in the dark for a while.
I remember her from that old show, Picket Fences, man. She was fucking great in that.
I'm an 80s and 90s kid, so I knew her from Dumb and Dumber. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. This was right before that.
I'm
This
sorry,
year, big
Down
TV show on
Periscope.
it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, with
He was in Down Periscope. It was funnier than hell. That was-
Fraser, yeah, Kelsey Grammer. Good God. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Did you think that they were going to die?
No, actually, to me, that was a genuine surprise. I thought if they
You
were
saw
gonna
her
die-
pull the knife. You saw
Yeah.
her pull. You see,
Yeah.
took the knife from the kitchen.
Yeah. But I mean, for some
So,
reason, I thought because the way he was driving, no joke intended, it was going to be another accident on the road in the snow. You know.
Now that I think of it, initially I was thinking maybe, it was going to get to the point where, just to shut the wife up, please get out of the car, they're going to drop her off, because I think they're going to were her destination first and they were going to go drive farther. So I think they were just going to kind of luck out. But now that I think about it, if you remember when she went into, I think it was the bathroom, and she pulled out, she started laughing. She pulls out an ID.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's obviously that's where she got the name. Is it Joan?
Joan.
Yeah.
So obviously she's murdered before. So that made me think, okay, yeah, they're dead once they're, because they're stationary for a long time in that car, just arguing and just sitting there. I knew something was going to happen.
And she has to do it right in front of the school.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lauren Holly's do not fucking stop. I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. Do not fucking stop. She's like pleading with him. Do not stop in front of this fucking, this school.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's where they both fucking get it. They both fucking get the chop.
Yep.
And
she was right.
then it flashes back because now we're moving back and forth, and then it goes to the police arrival, and that one fucking cop just comes down into that furnace, and those fucking heads are just sitting there. And fuck, man. That's what I just how fucking minimalist this is. That you can actually make a movie that can do that without, big budgets and just, a fucking story.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking straightforward. If this can be done so easily, then, I almost guarantee, I'll bet anybody here a beer or a lunch or something like that this will probably be better than The Exorcist.
I think so.
No doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's gonna suck.
I'm not taking that bet because I got no money. But still.
Well, if I see you, I'll buy you lunch anyway.
There we go.
This movie reminded me more of I Trapped the Devil than anything else. Like that.
It was better. I thought it was better than I Trapped the Devil, but I love I Trapped the Devil. Yeah. Again, 824. Oz Perkins. We're going about 40 minutes, and I know you want to get to the game, so. Let's talk about Father Brian. No, it's all right. It's all right. I don't want to. I stop having these conversations where I go through things chronologically. We just have like these open.
It jumps around.
It jumps around too fucking much. I wrote this in my notes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can I make one point though about Joan?
Yeah,
I thought it was a little sad, not pathetic. I was going to say that, but it was more like a little sad that when she was after killing the parents and she was going to school, she put on makeup.
Yeah.
Remember that? She put on the blood. I'm going to meet my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was ironic because they took it back to Rose. Rose was supposed to be the,
right.
The dirty one, the bad girl. And here's a genuine bad girl. And I got to make myself look pretty. And part of me actually went, oh, sweetie, he ain't gonna come.
Yeah,
you know what that made me think. That's a good analogy because it just made me think, John. Like we were talking about how quick the exorcism scene was, like 2 minutes, and I don't think it was because this was a weak demon or anything like that. I think this demon literally it got what it wanted, and then kind of like with the Joan character, you know what I mean? It got what it wanted. It's like the guy, okay, I got what I wanted. I'll leave money on the dresser type of thing. And that's why he
makes the line that makes that line when she says, "Don't go," even sadder.
Yeah.
Because the next scene you clip over and he's already gone.
Yeah.
Boom.
He was able to cause his chaos, got what he wanted, ruined some lives, ended some lives, and he's off to the next one.
Yeah.
No.
And oh goodness, the parallels between the demon and Rose's boyfriend aren't obvious enough.
What?
the parallels between Rose's boyfriend and the demon both being like bad boys.
Yeah.
But one's a
No, I
pretend
just
bad
thought
boy,
that.
and the other
Well,
one's a
yeah, I
real
mean,
bad boy.
I couldn't. You could have cut that, but because he's only in it for like 30 seconds.
True.
He's like driving an Oldsmobile, or something like that. You know,
Yeah, how
so I'm
bad
just
can
like,
he be?
Yeah, how bad can he really fucking be?
In upstate New York, an Oldsmobile.
Yeah, he's not even listening to Anthrax, man. I'm not taking that guy fucking
he's
serious. Fuck that dude. But
he's part of the olds.
But,
the olds gang.
I appreciate it again. There's fucking Rose, lying to her parents about when the fucking school break is. That's such a teenage fucking thing.
Right.
Just completely changing the dates of so she can go on some fucking date and try to figure out what to do about her, supposed pregnancy. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking 17-year-old for you. Just to fucking make all this shit up. So, I mean, that brings us back to Father Brian.
Yeah.
I like this character. And he seems to have deduced, maybe perhaps based on what he saw in that initial conversation that he had with Catherine, exactly what the fuck is going on in there. And I couldn't figure out when I first saw it what the fuck was, like, what is this? Like, are they going to have some big, thing? What's going to happen? Is she going to reveal herself? And again, even this is so fucking low key. And he just stares at her until that grin comes on, and he's like, "Oh, there you are." No, you're not staying around here. And he just puts the fucking kibosh on this fucking demon. And again, like John says, the sad part about it being that, Catherine doesn't actually want the demon to go. But
I was worried if they made it really big that it would have reminded me, no joke intended, The Exorcist 3. I remember when we talked about The Exorcist 3, and at the very end, we kind of complained about all of a sudden, because like, did we need that? I mean, I didn't want like him sticking to the wall and his skin coming off, because that to me would have taken me out of what this movie was setting up.
Yeah, it would have completely changed the tone.
Yeah.
But I mean, we get back to the end, and she brings the fucking bodies to the furnace. And she's touching the fucking furnace, and the furnace is just dead.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yep.
Yeah, it's dead. It hasn't been going in a while. The school is abandoned, and there's just nothing fucking there.
Yep.
And I think it's at this moment that we see here that the full realization of how badly she's been used fucking hits her. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, her life is just fucking over with. And it's just like that crying starts. And I was just like, what the fuck? It's fucking awful. I like, I'm not just saying this because I don't do that, just prop up movies because I bring them on the show. And like, it really fucking got me. And I'm like, this is beyond fucked up. It's just fucking beyond fucked up. And again, it comes back to what James Remar says. It's better than having no one, and she has, in the end, fucking no one after. And what I believe is that Satan or whatever influenced just enough to bring them together on the path. And when Remar starts talking about, about coincidence like that, you just can't ignore it, can you? And she's just looking at it, and it just has it's like a double entendre for her. It has a completely different fucking meaning. He has no idea, the fucking viper's nest that he just fucking walked into. And she's just fucking staring at him like, yeah, can't be a coincidence, right? Here you are saying the fucking words that are in my head, saying them out loud. You're right. This is not a fucking coincidence. And and that's where it fucking ends. Short, 90 minutes, to the point, events that take place over a couple of days along both storylines. Yeah.
It's amazing, though.
I thought so. Oz Perkins, he's done another movie. It's on Netflix. It's a haunted house flick called The Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, well, I've seen it on Netflix many times. I just haven't gotten around to watching it. It always pops up in my queue, and I go around it. But now I'll probably check it out, especially with Halloween around the corner.
Watch, it'll be Elvira.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. I've seen this before. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything that we missed in this film that you would like to discuss? Any points? Anything in particular?
I like the music.
Yeah.
Too. I thought
Yeah, you said a good music.
The music had
score.
a bit of an influence on it too.
Yeah, it's a good score. It's a good score.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the movie. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves to 5. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather walk through cow manure barefoot than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is that this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I discuss films in the first place. Eric, what would you give Oz Perkins, the Blackcoat's daughter?
Okay, I've only seen it once, so keep that in mind when I give the score. I definitely think I'm going to give it a rewatch because this conversation helped me kind of understand some of the stuff I couldn't really put together because, like I said, I'm not good with non-linear movies. You know what I mean? I can only take so much fucking Quentin Tarantino stuff. You know what I mean?
When
it comes to that. But I'm going to give it a 3.5 as of right now. I really like the performances, especially Emma Roberts and James Remar. I like the idea. I like the tone, but I just think I probably would have preferred it more linear than how it was. Okay. But I definitely think now that the stuff that Mike and John have discussed, pay attention to this line that this person says, or look, pay attention to this specific scene. It'll help me enjoy it more with a rewatch. But as of right now, I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay. All right. Mr. Monday Night, what do you got for us?
I'm going to give this movie a 3. Definitely, Oz is going to do something good. This is a good first attempt.
Yes.
Great atmospherics, great cinematography, great attempts on what's obviously a very low budget. I appreciate the Catholic schoolgirl outfits, but it just doesn't make it for me. I know that the whatever the story hit both of you guys, it just did not hit me. I was sort of like, all right, now this is going to happen, and it does, and now this is going to happen, and now it does. It just seemed a little bit just a little bit too stereotyped for my taste, but it didn't affect me to the point where I was crying or feeling a lot for these characters. Despite fantastic performances by everybody, I would like to see what Oz Perkins does with a really, really good script.
Okay. All right. So we got 3.5 and a 3. Mr. Off-White, what do you got for us?
Well, I first have to make a comment that even though it's tempting to walk through camel poop and bare feet, it does hurt. It does work for athlete's foot fungus. But
PSA.
The very first time I saw this movie, and when I saw it yesterday, I had the same feeling at the end. And I've seen it about maybe 3 or 4 times altogether. And it was, please excuse me, oh God, she's fucked after it's over. And I felt bad for her. And I've never had that experience with a horror movie. So I'm going to give it a 4. Is it perfect cinema? No. There is some stuff, but each time I see it, I seem to find more. Each time I see it, I really get into it. And for some reason, at the end, I feel sorry for the villain.
Yeah.
I really, and it's like, oh my God, you are so, it was funny. I give her a hug, but I'm afraid she stabbed me. Like deal. And it's not a joke. It really is the fact that I'm like, I didn't think I could feel that way for a villain. Okay. I'm lying. I mean, I used to feel that way for Frankenstein when I was a kid, or King Kong when he fell off the building. But this was like someone who was close to being like human to me. It was normal. And that really moved me. So I got to give it that 4.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with a 4.5. I'm going against all of you and rating it right up there. I am undeterred. I find that there's a lot of tragedy here, and that this kid, you're seeing possession from a different perspective. In someone again who seems to enjoy the possession or whatever it is, the connection, and someone who has just been used and had their lives essentially. I mean, there's never been an opportunity, because usually in these sorts of movies, there's this, opportunity for redemption or, where she can make a better choice or something. There's none of that in here. All of this has been planned out for her beyond her control. And she just goes along with it right until the very end. And then at the end is just left to realize, holy shit, this is, probably, like I said, it's cold. It's very cold and unfeeling storytelling. Great performances. Remar, Lauren Holly, the three girls. I didn't figure it out, so I can't think of anything to criticize it. I can't think of anything to criticize. So I'm going with 4.5.
There you go.
All right. Eric, plug something.
When we're done with this, I'm literally going to go watch First Blood. So I'll have because I'm doing the Rambo series for the channel. Hey, Internet Eric here. I'll probably have that up by either tomorrow or Wednesday. And then this Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm actually doing my first interview on my channel where there's a local wrestling federation, Windy City Pro Wrestling, that monthly shows literally 5 minutes from my house. And I'm going to interview one of their wrestlers, Gavin Alexander. He's been doing independent wrestling for 20 years, and I'm sure he's got a lot of stories to tell. He was trained by Tracy Smothers and Cowboy Bob Orton. So if you know them, he has a lot of stories. So that's what I'm going to focus on this Saturday, the 23rd, 7 p.m. Central Time.
How many stories are you going to be able to tell?
Oh,
a lot of stories.
It's going to be live. There'll be no edits. And if he's hung out around with Tracy Smothers and Cowboy Bob, he's got plenty, I'm sure.
Sure. Absolutely. Man. And I've got the notification button set. I'm ready for that myself.
Yeah, that's
the link is on my channel to hit the notification for the reminder.
Put the link in the group chat so everybody can get to it. All right. Mr. Monday Night, what do you got for us?
October 13th, Otto's Jacket will be at the American Legion Pavilion in Milltown for another outdoor show, probably the last one of the season. So come on out. Follow us at Instagram and at Facebook at Jacket of Otto NJ, and down with the Demonarchy.
Big downs. All right, Mr. Off-White, you got anything going on?
Well, I'm still in the competition. I made it to phase 2.
Hey, all right, good for you, buddy.
There you go. So I'm ranked either 10th or 9th, depending on who you talk to. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, I have a chance. I'm in a competition to get a photo shoot with Kane, whatever his name is, from thank you, the guy who played Jason in all those movies. And the funny thing is, if you like me, please look me up. I'll be more than happy to post it, and all you have to do is give me a vote.
How is this face not the face of horror?
Look at this. Come on. Look, do I not fucking scare you?
Wait do you see when he just wakes up?
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, I told people, because they keep saying, oh, you have to pay for votes. No, you don't. No. You can vote one a day if you want to do that. If you want to pay for votes, which is the opportunity, I can't do it. Right. I can't pay to vote for myself, which is amazing. But they turned around and said it goes for cystic fibrosis. They're raising the money for charity. Mm-hmm. So if you like me and think I'm full of shit, sure, vote for me. If you don't like me, send it to the people that you don't like and lie. Say I'm a great guy and build me up. So when they vote for me, you can turn around and say, ha, he's an asshole. And I'll get the votes. You'll get your revenge. Everything will be perfect. Not that I wanted to use Michael's show to plug my own shit.
Yeah, it sounds like the influence of evil to me. That's almost as bad as the Blackcoat's daughter right there. All right, so
Hence
there's
why
a scheme at
I'm
every
the
turn.
off-white house coat.
All right. So yeah, check them out. Give them a vote. I'll put the link that you put in the chat into the description here, along with Eric's YouTube
Thank
channel.
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And get your vote in. This channel will be covering a few things this week. I'll be putting out a video on The Nun 2. The Nun 2 is still rocking it for the second weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest of the Conjuring universe. I saw it. It was fantastic. It was just fun and dark and moody, and it was exactly what a sequel should be, where instead of playing it low-key, they just go right from the fucking start, balls to the wall. So I just fucking loved it. I think it's like at $160 million. Which for a horror movie is pretty good, and like the 9th or 12th movie in the Conjuring, for like the 12th in a series, that's really saying something. And I mean, 12 movies in relatively fast succession.
Yeah,
and they've set it up. I don't want to give it away, but they've set it up where it looks like it's going to connect back to the Conjuring.
Yeah. Hey, can I tell you a quick thing about working at the movie theater? Because we got The Nun 2. The first showing didn't show.
What?
The signal got jammed. It didn't show up. And I had to walk in and tell the movie theater.
Oh, no.
So I walked in, and when I said it to him, somebody turned around and said, "That fucking nun." And I started laughing. And he goes, "Can we see it the next time?" I said, "Yeah, we'll just put you in the next movie." They're like, "All right." And they didn't care. They walked out. But it's funny because you'll see the stereotypical people that you expect to see a horror movie.
The Nun, yeah.
And then you'll get the kids whose grandmother is bringing them.
Oh, wow.
Because of and I'm going, "Are you all right?" She goes, "Oh, I'll be fine." They walk out of the movie going, "Jesus Christ." So it scares grandma.
It's got it, like, I don't go for jump scares. Those were fucking top tier jump scares. Those were fucking top tier jump scares. And I just thought it was fucking great. I can't wait to buy it when it comes out on physical media. It's gonna be.
And there's people who I know who saw Haunting in Venice.
Oh yeah. The problem is that well, never mind. I'm not going to say.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's a Christie movie, and I know Christie didn't write any paranormal shit. It's a murder mystery.
What it was is that it's a short story that when Agatha Christie went to open public, you'd have to pay rights and royalties to it. Somebody had written this story, and it was funny because that's why Tina Fey is actually in the movie. She sent it to Kenneth Branagh to read, and Kenneth Branagh adopted it to the
Michelle Yeoh's in it. She's in everything now.
Yeah, Tina Fey's in it. Oh goodness gracious, I can never remember her name, but she's a British actress who in Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, his series, he played. She was Watson's wife, type deal.
Oh yeah. Where he throws her off the train. Yeah. Did you just kill my new wife?
Yeah. But it's and people are walking out of that going, "I thought it was going to be a mystery. This is really scary." There's a lot of people who are actually getting really scared by it.
Maybe I'll take a look at it this week. I got that Regal pass. Movies nowadays in New Jersey are about $16 a ticket.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Regal has an app, and I think it's $21.99 for unlimited tickets.
Oh, that's good.
You can see the same movie as many times as you want. You pay 50 cents for the convenience fee. That's it.
And
you just got to drive yourself there.
And if you come to Stone Harbor, I'm working.
Yeah, and of course I lose $16 in popcorn and water, but you know. Fine.
If you come to Stone Harbor and I'm working, I'll get you in for free.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
For this channel, we've got that. A couple other things going on. Next week, if you're available, I'd like to bring you in for this, which is, hold on a second. I'll see if I can fix this for myself. This is the movie I want to cover next. This is fucking off the charts.
Cool.
Yeah. Folk horror. The folk horror movie with Noomi Rapace called Lamb. It's a foreign film.
Yeah.
I think it's a Swedish film. And it is just off the fucking wall. Fucking crazy. So if you guys are available, I'd love to have you back.
And if it's not a Swedish film, just say it's a Swedish film. Nobody will know.
Yeah, no one's gonna fucking know. Bork, bork, bork. All right, my thanks to Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here.
My
to
pleasure.
Mr. Monday Night, who probably is trying to catch up on the score, and the Off-White Housecoat's cousin, John K. Alvarez. Thanks to you all.
Sure.
We will see you all in the next video. Eric, stick around for a second. I want to talk wrestling.
Cheers.
Gators.
You will.